Hey, we are back with our Journey with Jesus Bible study where we are going through the Bible chronologically in a year using the Bible Recap Study Plan by Tara-Leigh Cobble. We are studying Genesis 19 through 21. And in chapter 19, we see God rescuing Lot. But this is after Abraham kind of intercedes for him. Is kind of like, what if we can find some righteous people here? He negotiates himself all the way down from 50 to 10. And he's like, surely we can find 10. And obviously they weren't able to find 10. However, he knew Lot was there. And so we see two of the three angels that visited Abraham coming into Sodom. And they enter the gates, and Lot is sitting there. And with Lot being at the gates, that hints at the fact that he was a man of importance. A lot of times the men that were at the gates were had some type of civil authority. Immediately, Lot notices something different about these men, whether it was that they were if he actually could recognize that they were angels or that they were holy, or maybe they were just very handsome and he knew what the men of Sodom would want to do. So he immediately tries to get them to come into his house. And they're like, no, we'll, be in the town square. But Lot's like, no, come on. And so they humor him and go. And just as Lot expected, the men of Sodom are trying to bang down his door and try to come in. And in an effort to try to protect his guests, he offers his daughters. And I don't know that we can ever understand why. Every commentary or anything that I've ever read about it has said that it was just guests were so important to them at that time that they protected them at all costs. And whether we agree with it or not, that's what the Bible says about it. And, and we see Lot trying to relate to these men on a, kind of like a brotherly level. He even calls them brothers. And he's trying to get them to calm down, but they weren't having any of it. And they immediately try to bang down the doors, but then the angels are like, okay, we got this. Lot's really in trouble. Let us handle the situation. So they shut the door and they blind the men. And so where Lot was trying to protect them, the men are now protecting Lot. And so we see them telling Lot, look, you've got to get out of this city because God's fixing to burn it down. We are fixing to rain down fire from heaven, and you and your family have got to go. And so he's getting his daughters and his wife, and he tries to get his daughters' husbands or fiancés. We're not sure whether they were. He says that they were virgins. They had never slept with anyone, and so you're either led to believe he was lying there, or these women were just betrothed to them, they were promised to them, or maybe they were married and he was just lying. But that he's trying to get them, and they're just laughing at him. They think he's joking, and it kind of makes you think, well, maybe Lot was not living a life that they would ever believe that, there's nothing in him that would make them think that he would be that kind of man, a righteous man like that. We don't know. But what we do know is they did not survive. They didn't believe him, and so they left him. But what really stood out to me was the fact that Lot lingered, and they had to literally take his hand, yank them out of there. And one of the commentators that I listened to, he suggested that, had there been more than two angels, they only had four hands to be able to grab. And literally they got his two daughters, Lot and his wife, and that was all. Had they had more, would they have been able to get the sons-in-law out? And obviously it's all speculation, but I thought that was a really interesting thought. And so they had to pull them out, and he's like, look, the angels were like, God is fixing to rain down fire. Y'all need to leave. Don't look back. Leave. Well, his wife looks back. obviously she's turned into a pillar of salt. And they're telling him, like, look, you have got to go. You go to the hills, and once you get there, we will rain down fire. And Lot didn't think he'd make it in time, so he's kind of like, okay, what about if I go to Zoar? I know I can get there. Zoar, I know I can get there in time. They're like, okay, just leave. Just leave, because I can't do anything until you get where you're going. And so when they got there, the fire rained down. God destroys Sodom. And we see that Lot and his daughters, this is a really hard passage, that they flee to the hills and they live in Zoar. But for some reason, he gets scared in Zoar, and so they go and live in a cave. And whether it be because they're living in a cave and they're scared, they think that they're the last people on earth, or whether they were worried about not having children and how it would look bad against them or their father, they get their father drunk and they sleep with him, and they both get pregnant. And this really is kind of shows how being in a wicked city has really, like, I don't know what you would say, but like it just really tainted their thought process. And so they bear children, and they're called Moab and Ben-Ami, which would be the Moabites and the Ammonites. And this is notable because they are going to be in conflict with Israel, that we will see later coming. And so we get to chapter 20, where we are introduced to Abimelech. And we don't know why, but Abraham and Sarah go into the town, not sure what it is, of Gerar, Gerar, maybe not the way it's pronounced, but that's how I'm going to pronounce it. And they lie and say that Sarah is his sister. But because of that, God comes to Abimelech in a dream. It's kind of like, hey, you're going to die. If you sleep with this man's wife, you're going to die. And he's kind of like, well, I'm innocent. They told me that this was his sister, so they lied to me. And he's like, are you going to kill me because someone else told me a lie? And God's kind of like, no, I know the integrity of your heart, and because you have not slept with her, and I am keeping you from sinning, because I didn't let you touch her, you will live. So return Abraham's wife Sarah to him, and he will pray for you. And so he wasted no time. He gets up in the morning, tells everybody. He takes Sarah back to Abraham. He's like, dude, why'd you lie to me? Why did you do this to me? Because God was going to kill me because of this. And Abraham's kind of like, well, I thought you would kill me because she's so beautiful. And so, but she really is technically my half sister. So I didn't completely lie, which I'm okay. And then Abimelech's kind of like, well, take her here. Take these animals. How about you take this money, and I will let you own any piece of my land. Just get out of here. And please pray for me. And so Abraham prays for Abimelech, and Abimelech is healed, and so are his wife and his female slaves. And what's amazing about that is God said that he kept him from sinning, right? Abimelech from sinning. And Abimelech had a choice. It's not like he forced Abimelech's hand. He was kind of like, if you do this, then you will die. So he gave him consequences to his actions, but he had a choice whether he was going to follow through or not. What's amazing to me is the fact that God, just in case he was not going to follow his directions, like he was not going to force him to not do something, but he made him to where he couldn't have children, just in case. And so I just think that's amazing that God did that. And so we are out of time for chapter 21, but I will include it on the next video I'll include for our day 19.